Stop what you're doing right now. The document I'm holding in my hands just destroyed a family forever. And if you have elderly parents, this could be your family next week. 3 signatures on a piece of paper. That's all it took for Octavio Castellanos to legally steal $95,000 from his own mother while she sat in her living room, completely unaware that her son was systematically draining every penny she'd saved over 78 years of life. But here's the part that will make your blood run cold. Esperanza Castellanos was not a vulnerable old woman with dementia. She was a sharp, former bookkeeper who understood money better than most financial advisors. She trusted her son completely, and that trust became the weapon he used to destroy her. This is case file number 127, and I'm your family wealth detective. What happened to the Castellanos family is happening right now to a family in your city. Maybe your neighbor, maybe your friend, maybe you. If you have aging parents with any money saved, even $10,000, drop everything and hit subscribe right now. The next 45 minutes could save your family from financial devastation that's closer than you think. Here's what nobody tells you about power of attorney fraud. It's not some complicated financial scheme. It's embarrassingly simple. Your most trusted family member gets legal control of money, then takes it. The victims never see it coming because they can't imagine their own child, their own brother, their own trusted relative becoming a thief. Octavio spent 14 months perfecting his theft operation. 14 months of stealing while eating Sunday dinner at his mother's table. 14 months of hugging her goodbye after stealing thousands from her accounts. 14 months of looking his siblings in the eye while systematically destroying their mother's financial future. The insurance company handed him $23,000 in cash, no questions asked. The banks processed $18,000 in transfers, completely legal. He even stole her life insurance benefits by changing the beneficiary to himself. Total damage, $95,000. Her entire life savings. Gone. And here's the terrifying part. It was all completely legal until the moment he was caught. Every signature was valid, every transaction was authorized, every theft was covered by legitimate power of attorney documents that millions of families sign every single day. You know what exposed him? A 17-year-old kid asking to see grandma's insurance papers for a school project. That's it. If Kieran Castellanos hadn't been curious about investments, this theft would have continued until Esperanza died, and Octavio would have inherited everything anyway. But this case gets worse. Much worse. The FBI discovered that Octavio had researched elder abuse penalties before he started stealing. He knew exactly what crimes he was committing. He studied the legal loopholes. He planned every detail. This wasn't desperation. It was calculated predation against his own mother. The psychological evaluation revealed something that will shock you. Octavio felt entitled to steal from Esperanza. In his mind, he was just taking his inheritance early. He genuinely believed he deserved compensation for helping his mother. He convinced himself that she would never miss the money. Sound familiar? That's because these exact thoughts are going through the minds of family members across America right now. People you trust, people who help with your parents' finances, people who have access to accounts, documents, and legal authority. The warning signs were everywhere for months. Missing documents, changed communication patterns, behavioral modifications, financial institution access. Yet the family missed every single red flag because they trusted Octavio completely. Here's what I'm going to show you in the next 45 minutes. The exact methodology Octavio used to steal $95,000 without detection, the 3 legal mistakes the Castellanos family made that enabled systematic theft, the specific warning signs that could have prevented this crime completely, and the protection strategies that will safeguard your family from similar financial predation. This isn't entertainment. This isn't just another family drama story. This is a blueprint for recognizing and preventing the most devastating financial betrayal possible: theft by the people you trust most. The Castellanos family thought they were protected by love, trust, and family bonds. They learned that predators often wear the faces of the people closest to us. Don't let your family learn this lesson the hard way. Let's examine exactly how a trusted son became a systematic thief and how you can prevent this from happening to your family. To understand how Octavio Castellanos successfully stole $95,000 from his own mother, we must examine the family psychological structure that created perfect conditions for elder financial abuse. The Castellanos family represents what family systems psychologists call a triangulated hierarchy, a dangerous dynamic where one adult child assumes disproportionate responsibility for aging parents, while other siblings remain geographically or emotionally distant. This configuration creates vulnerability to financial exploitation because oversight responsibility becomes concentrated in a single individual who can control information flow and decision making processes. Esperanza Castellanos, at 78, embodied what financial crimes experts identify as the ideal target profile for family perpetrated elder abuse. She possessed substantial financial assets, including $45,000 in checking accounts and a $95,000 life insurance policy. Her geographic isolation from most family members created dependency on local relatives for complex tasks and emotional support. Most critically, Esperanza maintained absolute trust in family members, a psychological trait that predators ruthlessly exploit. Her 40-year career as a bookkeeper had given her sophisticated financial knowledge, making family members assume she could protect herself from exploitation. This assumption proved tragically wrong because financial expertise cannot defend against manipulation by trusted relatives who exploit emotional bonds. Her increasing reliance on family support for complex tasks created additional vulnerability. While Esperanza remained cognitively sharp and financially literate, she had begun seeking assistance with technology, document organization, and coordination of medical appointments. This dependency created opportunities for control that Octavio would systematically expand. The three-child family structure created textbook conditions for elder financial abuse through geographic and emotional distance patterns that left oversight gaps. Celestine, the eldest daughter, lived in Colorado and maintained emotional distance from daily family management responsibilities. Her geographic separation meant she relied on others for information about their mother's condition, financial status, and care needs. This distance eliminated her ability to provide independent oversight or detect early warning signs of exploitation. Leander, the youngest son, worked as a teacher and visited monthly with his wife Serafina and their teenage children. While emotionally connected to Esperanza, his busy professional obligations and family responsibilities limited his availability for intensive caregiving coordination or financial oversight. This positioning left Octavio perfectly situated as the responsible middle child, geographically closest, apparently most available, and gradually assuming the role of primary family caregiver coordinator. From a criminal psychology perspective, this positioning allowed Octavio to control information flow between Esperanza and her other children while establishing himself as indispensable. Octavio's criminal psychology profile reveals characteristics that forensic specialists classify as entitlement-based financial predation. His personal financial crisis, gambling debts, expensive divorce settlements, and mounting credit card obligations created desperate motivation for theft. However, his psychological sense of family entitlement provided the mental justification needed to rationalize systematic criminal behavior. Financial predators within families typically employ three psychological rationalization mechanisms that allow them to commit devastating crimes against loved ones. First, anticipated inheritance logic, convincing themselves they deserve immediate access to money they will eventually inherit. Second, service compensation fantasy, believing their caregiving assistance justifies unauthorized financial compensation. Third, victim incapacity projection, claiming their elderly relatives can no longer understand complex financial decisions. Octavio's wife, Isadora, played a crucial enabling role by creating external pressure that motivated escalating theft. Her ultimatums about losing their house to foreclosure established crisis timelines that pushed Octavio from contemplating theft to executing systematic financial crimes against his mother. Octavio's transformation from family member to financial predator began with 3 months of legitimate helpfulness following Esperanza's minor fall in early 2019. This period represents what criminal investigators call the cultivation phase, when predators establish trust while conducting reconnaissance on their victims' financial assets and security vulnerabilities. During these months, Octavio carefully observed Esperanza's banking routines, document storage systems, and communication patterns with financial institutions. He learned her account access methods, discovered her substantial life insurance policy, and identified her increasing reliance on family support for complex tasks. The psychological conditioning began subtly through seemingly helpful suggestions. Octavio would comment that managing finances was becoming too stressful for Esperanza, or that complex financial decisions might be overwhelming for someone her age. These suggestions served dual purposes, positioning himself as her protective advocate while gradually undermining her confidence in independent financial management. Octavio's reconnaissance revealed critical vulnerabilities he would later exploit systematically. Esperanza kept important documents in an easily accessible filing cabinet, trusted family members with sensitive financial information, and relied on traditional mail communication with banks and insurance companies. Each vulnerability became a component of his eventual theft operation. The Castellanos family communication structure inadvertently facilitated Octavio's eventual financial crimes through patterns that eliminated oversight and accountability. Celestine's geographic distance meant she relied on Octavio for updates about their mother's condition and needs. Phone conversations between Colorado and Arizona often involved Octavio providing filtered information about Esperanza's health, financial status, and daily activities. This communication pattern allowed Octavio to control the narrative while positioning himself as the reliable family information source. Leander's busy teaching schedule and monthly visit pattern meant he had limited opportunities for detailed financial oversight or independent assessment of their mother's situation. His trust in Octavio's apparent dedication to caregiving eliminated his suspicion about potential financial manipulation. Most dangerously, both siblings gradually deferred financial decision-making to Octavio because of his geographic proximity and apparent expertise. This deference created the exact conditions where systematic theft could proceed undetected, because the person with daily access controlled all financial information and decision-making processes. If this family dynamic sounds familiar, if you have aging parents with one child providing most care while others remain distant, hit that like button. This positioning creates the exact conditions where power of attorney abuse flourishes. The warning signs I'm about to reveal could protect your family from financial devastation. Multiple warning signs of developing financial exploitation were visible months before Octavio's theft operation reached its $95,000 total. Yet family members failed to recognize these red flags because they trusted their brother's apparent helpfulness. Behavioral changes in Esperanza became noticeable by late 2019. She began deferring financial questions to Octavio, claiming he understood these things better or that financial matters were too complicated for her to manage alone. These statements contradicted her 40-year career in bookkeeping and represented clear indicators of psychological manipulation designed to justify increasing external control. Communication patterns shifted as Octavio increasingly answered phone calls intended for Esperanza and provided updates instead of allowing direct conversation. He would explain that their mother was resting or busy when siblings called, then relay information that portrayed him as essential to her daily functioning and financial management. Document accessibility became problematic when Esperanza could no longer readily locate important financial papers during family visits. Octavio explained these disappearances as normal aging-related organization difficulties, while secretly relocating documents to his residence for easier manipulation and control. Financial institution interactions changed as Esperanza stopped receiving direct communication from banks and insurance companies. Octavio claimed he was helping by handling all financial correspondence and eliminating confusing communications that might upset their mother. This isolation eliminated Esperanza's ability to monitor her accounts independently. Technology avoidance became pronounced as Octavio actively discouraged Esperanza from using online banking, ATMs, or direct contact with financial institutions. He convinced her these technologies were dangerous for seniors. while positioning himself as her protective intermediary for all financial communications and transactions. By August 2019, multiple factors had aligned to create ideal conditions for systematic elder financial abuse. Esperanza's increasing dependency, Octavio's financial desperation, family communication gaps, and the absence of independent oversight created what financial crimes experts call a perfect storm scenario. Esperanza's trust in family members eliminated her natural protective instincts. Her substantial assets provided attractive targets for theft. Her increasing reliance on assistance created opportunities for control. Most critically, the family's assumption that Octavio's helpfulness indicated genuine care prevented recognition of developing exploitation patterns. The psychological dynamics that made this family vulnerable, geographic distance, communication gaps, concentrated caregiving responsibility, and absolute family trust, represent patterns replicated in thousands of elder financial abuse cases annually. Understanding these dynamics is essential because they create conditions where systematic theft can proceed undetected until financial devastation becomes irreversible. The Castellanos family's vulnerability illustrates why financial oversight cannot be concentrated in a single family member, regardless of their apparent reliability or geographic convenience. Without checks and balances, even previously trustworthy relatives can become financial predators when personal crises create motivation and opportunity for systematic theft. Now, let's examine exactly how Octavio transformed his position of trust into a sophisticated criminal operation that nearly destroyed his family's financial security forever. The transformation of Octavio Castellanos from helpful son to systematic thief began with a calculated $5,000 decision in November 2019. What appeared to be an impulsive choice was actually the culmination of months of careful planning and psychological conditioning that would ultimately cost his family $95,000. Let me walk you through the exact methodology Octavio used to execute what federal investigators classify as organized elder financial abuse, a sophisticated operation involving mail fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud that violated multiple federal banking regulations. The power of attorney documents Octavio convinced Esperanza to sign in August 2019 represented the legal foundation for his entire theft operation. These weren't standard limited power of attorney documents that restrict authority to specific circumstances. Instead, Octavio researched and obtained what lawyers call broad financial power of attorney, legal authority that activated immediately upon signing, required no medical incapacity determination, and granted comprehensive control over all financial assets. This distinction is crucial for anyone considering family financial arrangements. Limited power of attorney requires specific triggering events, usually medical incapacity certified by physicians. Broad financial power of attorney grants immediate authority that can be exercised at the attorney-in-fact's discretion. Octavio deliberately pursued the broader authority while describing it to Esperanza as limited protection. The legal document granted Octavio authority to access all bank accounts, manage investments, sell property, make insurance claims, and handle all financial transactions on Esperanza's behalf. Most critically, the document did not require Esperanza to be declared incapacitated for Octavio to exercise these powers, a detail he deliberately obscured during their discussions. During the document preparation process, Octavio made a devastating discovery. Esperanza's life insurance policy contained provisions for cash value loans that could be accessed by the power of attorney holder. The policy, purchased through her former employer's group plan in 1987, had accumulated $23,000 in cash value while maintaining a $95,000 death benefit. More significantly, Octavio learned that his power of attorney authority included the ability to modify beneficiary designations, a power that Esperanza had never explicitly discussed or authorized. This discovery became central to his theft strategy because it allowed him to redirect the policy's ultimate value to himself. Financial crimes investigators note that insurance policies with cash value represent particularly vulnerable assets in elder financial abuse cases because loans against cash value don't require beneficiary notification and often avoid the oversight mechanisms that protect traditional bank accounts. Before beginning actual theft, Octavio established sophisticated operational security that would allow his crimes to continue undetected for over a year. His first priority was controlling information flow between Esperanza and external financial institutions. Beginning in September 2019, Octavio implemented what federal investigators call mail interception schemes, systematic control of a victim's correspondence to prevent discovery of unauthorized transactions. He convinced Esperanza that collecting her mail was another helpful service, claiming he would sort important documents from junk mail to reduce her stress and confusion. This mail control served multiple criminal purposes, preventing Esperanza from receiving bank statements showing unauthorized transactions, intercepting insurance company correspondence about policy loans, and eliminating external communication that might alert other family members to suspicious activity. Simultaneously, Octavio began relocating Esperanza's financial documents to his residence under the guise of better organization and emergency access. He convinced her that centralized document storage would improve his ability to help manage her affairs during medical emergencies or urgent situations. The document relocation eliminated Esperanza's ability to independently verify account balances, review transaction histories, or maintain direct communication with financial institutions. By controlling both incoming mail and stored documents, Octavio created an information monopoly that would prove crucial to concealing his systematic theft. Technology isolation tactics completed Octavio's information control strategy. He systematically discouraged Esperanza from using online banking, ATMs, or direct communication with financial institutions. He convinced her these technologies were dangerous for seniors and positioned himself as her protective intermediary for all financial communications. Octavio's first theft in November 2019 was carefully calculated to test system vulnerabilities without triggering immediate detection. Using his power of attorney authority, he contacted the insurance company and requested a $5,000 loan against the policy's cash value. The insurance company, following standard protocols, processed the request and mailed the check to Esperanza's address, where Octavio intercepted it through his mail control operation. The transaction proceeded without detection, questions, or consequences, confirming that his information control systems were effective. When this initial theft succeeded completely, Octavio recognized he had identified a systematic exploitation opportunity. Over the next 6 months, he executed increasingly bold theft operations. December 2019, second insurance loan of $8,000, bringing total policy loans to $13,000. February 2020, beneficiary designation change from estate of Esperanza Castellanos to Octavio Castellanos. March 2020, final insurance loan of $10,000, maximizing available cash value at $23,000. April 2020, direct bank account theft initiation with $2,000 transfer. The beneficiary change in February 2020 represents particularly sophisticated criminal thinking. By redirecting the policy's death benefit to himself, Octavio essentially stole an additional $72,000 in future value, $95,000 death benefit minus $23,000 in outstanding loans. This change required no immediate cash transfer, but redirected substantial future assets away from Esperanza's estate. The direct bank account theft phase beginning in April 2020 demonstrated Octavio's growing confidence and escalating desperation. Initial transfers of $2,000 expanded to regular withdrawals that would ultimately total $18,000 over the following months. These transactions violated multiple federal banking laws because they exceeded the legitimate scope of power of attorney authority. Federal banking regulations require financial institutions to maintain detailed transaction records that ultimately exposed Octavio's systematic theft. Bank security cameras captured him conducting transactions alone. ATM records showed access using Esperanza's cards when she was documented to be elsewhere, and wire transfer logs revealed patterns of suspicious activity that triggered institutional monitoring systems. As theft amounts escalated throughout 2020, Octavio implemented increasingly sophisticated cover-up tactics designed to prevent detection while maintaining his control over Esperanza's finances. These tactics represent classic patterns seen in organized elder financial abuse cases across the country. Family communication control became central to Octavio's cover up strategy. When Celestine or Leander called Esperanza, Octavio would often answer the phone and provide updates that minimized direct communication between his mother and siblings. He gradually positioned himself as the primary information source about their mother's condition, financial status, and daily needs. Psychological manipulation intensified as Octavio began suggesting that Esperanza was becoming confused about financial matters. He would make strategic comments like, "Mom's getting forgetful about money," or "She doesn't understand these complex financial decisions anymore." This manipulation served to discredit potential future accusations while justifying his increasing control over all financial communications and decisions. Document destruction became systematic as Octavio eliminated evidence that might expose his theft operation. Bank statements, insurance correspondence, and financial records disappeared from Esperanza's home as Octavio claimed to be organizing her paperwork while actually destroying incriminating evidence. Victim isolation tactics were subtle but effective. Octavio discouraged Esperanza from discussing financial matters with other family members, claiming such conversations would only cause unnecessary worry about her security and independence. He positioned himself as her protective advocate while systematically eliminating external oversight that might detect his criminal activities. If someone in your family controls all financial communication for elderly relatives, if they discourage direct contact with banks or collect all mail, these are major red flags for financial abuse. Share this case study with anyone who has elderly parents or manages family finances. These warning signs could prevent devastating theft in your own family. By summer 2020, Octavio's theft operation had grown so bold that detection became inevitable through multiple failure points in his operational security. His systematic withdrawal of $8,000 in small amounts required frequent bank visits that created suspicious activity patterns flagged by institutional monitoring systems designed to detect elder financial abuse. The psychological pressure of maintaining his double life, caring son publicly, systematic thief privately, began affecting Octavio's behavior in ways that created additional detection risks. Family members later reported that he seemed increasingly anxious during visits, discouraged questions about Esperanza's financial security, and became defensive about his role in managing their mother's affairs. ATM surveillance footage captured Octavio using Esperanza's banking cards during times when family members could verify she was at medical appointments or resting at home. These recordings created irrefutable evidence of unauthorized access that would later prove crucial to federal prosecution efforts. Wire transfer records, maintained by federal banking systems, documented patterns of suspicious activity that exceeded normal power of attorney usage. Transfers to accounts. Octavio controlled systematic withdrawals that followed predictable patterns, and timing that coincided with Esperanza's absence from her residence created clear evidence of systematic exploitation. Financial forensics investigators note that elder financial abuse cases typically end through one of three mechanisms: accidental discovery by family members, detection by financial institution monitoring systems, or victim death that triggers a state examination. The Castellanos case ended through accidental discovery when nephew Kieran noticed missing insurance documents during a routine family visit. This discovery mechanism illustrates why family financial abuse often continues undetected for years or even decades. Without regular independent oversight by multiple family members, systematic theft can proceed indefinitely as long as the perpetrator maintains control over information flow and communication patterns. The total financial impact of Octavio's 14-month theft operation included $23,000 in unauthorized insurance loans that reduced the policy's death benefit, $18,000 in direct bank transfers to accounts he controlled, $8,000 in systematic ATM withdrawals using Esperanza's access cards, and $46,000 in redirected life insurance benefits through fraudulent beneficiary changes. The combined theft totaled $95,000, representing Esperanza's entire life savings, financial security for her remaining years, and the inheritance she had planned to leave her children and grandchildren. The psychological impact proved even more devastating as Esperanza's trust in family members was permanently shattered and family relationships among siblings were destroyed. Understanding this criminal methodology is essential because the tactics Octavio employed, power of attorney manipulation, mail interception, victim isolation, and systematic asset drainage, represent standard approaches used in thousands of elder financial abuse cases annually. Financial crimes investigators report that family members perpetrate over 90% of elder financial abuse cases, with average losses exceeding $120,000 per victim. The sophistication of Octavio's operation demonstrates why traditional family trust and informal oversight cannot protect elderly relatives from financial predators who exploit legal authority for criminal purposes. His systematic approach, operational security measures, and psychological manipulation tactics represent criminal methodology that requires comprehensive legal safeguards and professional oversight to prevent and detect. Now let's examine how law enforcement and the justice system responded when this sophisticated theft operation was finally exposed through teenage curiosity about personal finance education. The exposure of Octavio Castellanos' systematic theft operation began with a teenager's innocent question about personal finance and culminated in federal charges that would establish new precedents for prosecuting elder financial abuse in Arizona. When 17-year-old Kieran Castellanos asked his grandmother about her life insurance policy during his September 2020 visit, he triggered a chain of events that would expose one of the most sophisticated power of attorney fraud schemes ever prosecuted in Maricopa County. Kieran's curiosity about investment strategies during his week-long stay with Esperanza led to a devastating realization. Her life insurance documents had completely disappeared from her organized filing system. While Esperanza initially assumed the papers were misplaced, Kieran's mention of missing documents to his father Leander sparked the investigation that would ultimately expose $95,000 in systematic theft. Leander's direct contact with the insurance company on October 3, 2020, revealed the first shocking evidence of financial crime. The customer service representatives report that multiple loans totaling $23,000 had been taken against the policy, sent immediate alarm signals through the family. More devastating was the discovery that the beneficiary had been changed from Esperanza's estate to Octavio personally. This moment represents what law enforcement calls the evidence revelation point, when systematic financial crime becomes undeniable through official documentation. The insurance company's records provided irrefutable proof that unauthorized transactions had occurred under power of attorney authority that exceeded legitimate scope. Working with elder law attorney Margaret Hendricks, Leander and Celestine began assembling evidence that would ultimately support criminal charges against their brother. Arizona's Adult Protective Services joined the investigation within 48 hours, recognizing patterns consistent with organized elder financial abuse that required immediate intervention. The family's decision to obtain comprehensive bank records from Chase Bank and Wells Fargo proved crucial to building the criminal case against Octavio. Federal banking regulations require financial institutions to maintain detailed transaction logs that create permanent evidence trails for all power of attorney activities. The bank records revealed a devastating pattern of escalating theft that shocked even experienced financial crimes investigators. Detective Raymond Alvarez of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office Financial Crimes Unit described the evidence as one of the most systematic elder abuse cases he had investigated in over 15 years of specialized law enforcement. Critical evidence included security camera footage showing Octavio conducting transactions alone during times when Esperanza was documented to be elsewhere, ATM withdrawal patterns inconsistent with Esperanza's documented physical limitations and banking habits, wire transfer authorizations bearing forged signatures that differed from Esperanza's verified handwriting samples, and phone records showing Octavio contacted financial institutions using identity information he could only have obtained through power of attorney access. Digital forensics played a crucial role in establishing the timeline and scope of Octavio's theft operation. Computer analysis of his email accounts revealed correspondence with insurance companies about policy loans that Esperanza had never authorized. Browser history showed extensive research into power of attorney limitations and elder financial abuse penalties, evidence suggesting premeditation rather than impulsive theft decisions. The scope and sophistication of Octavio's theft operation attracted federal attention from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. When elder financial abuse crosses state lines or involves federal banking systems, it typically triggers federal prosecution under the Elder Abuse Prevention and Prosecution Act of 2017. Octavio faced multiple federal charges that carried severe potential sentences. Federal charges: elder financial abuse under 18 U.S. 1347, maximum sentence, 20 years federal prison. Wire fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1343, maximum sentence, 20 years federal prison. Mail fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1341, maximum sentence, 20 years federal prison. Identity theft under 18 U.S.C. paragraph 1028A, mandatory minimum, 2 years federal prison. State charges: elder abuse under Arizona Revised Statute 46456, Class 2 felony, maximum 12.5 years state prison. Theft over $25,000 under ARS 13-1802, Class 2 felony, maximum 12.5 years state prison. Fraudulent use of power of attorney under ARS, Tariff 13-2310, Class 4 felony, maximum 3.75 years state prison. The combination of federal and state charges created potential sentences exceeding 75 years in prison, reflecting the serious view law enforcement takes toward elder financial abuse cases involving systematic theft and family betrayal. Octavio's initial defense strategy focused on claiming that Esperanza had authorized all transactions and that his actions represented legitimate exercise of power of attorney authority. His attorney, criminal defense specialist Michael Torres, argued that Esperanza's increasing cognitive decline made her unable to manage complex financial decisions independently. However, this defense collapsed when medical evaluations confirmed that Esperanza retained full cognitive capacity and clearly understood financial concepts. Neuropsychological testing performed by Dr. Amanda Rodriguez showed no evidence of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or other cognitive impairments that would justify unauthorized financial management by family members. The defense strategy shifted to claiming that Octavio deserved compensation for caregiving services and that the family had informally agreed to payment arrangements for his assistance. This argument failed when investigators found no written agreements, no family communications discussing compensation, and evidence that Octavio's caregiving primarily involved accessing Esperanza's financial accounts for personal benefit. Faced with overwhelming evidence and potential sentences exceeding 75 years, Octavio's legal team entered plea negotiations with federal prosecutors in January 2021. The plea agreement required full admission of guilt, complete financial restitution, and cooperation with ongoing elder abuse investigations throughout Arizona. If this investigation process is showing you gaps in your family's financial oversight, subscribe and ring the bell for more family wealth protection cases. The forensic techniques that caught Octavio could help protect your family from similar theft. Tell me in the comments, what family financial protection strategy will you implement first? On March 15, 2021, Octavio Castellanos pleaded guilty to federal elder financial abuse and wire fraud charges in exchange for a reduced sentence of 36 months federal prison, followed by 24 months supervised probation. The plea agreement required immediate restitution of $49,000 plus interest and penalties, totaling $52,000. Judge Patricia Williams of the U.S. District Court for Arizona emphasized during sentencing that elder financial abuse represents one of the most devastating betrayals possible, the exploitation of trust by family members who should provide protection rather than predation. The federal sentence would be followed by additional state probation totaling 5 years. The restitution process proved complex, but ultimately successful. Octavio was required to liquidate all assets, including the forced sale of his residence, to repay stolen funds. The insurance company restored the policy's original cash value and corrected the beneficiary designation back to Esperanza's estate. Additional consequences included permanent restrictions on Octavio's ability to serve as power of attorney for any individual, mandatory registration as a financial crimes offender under Arizona state law, and lifetime prohibition from employment in financial services or eldercare industries. The Castellanos case established important legal precedents for prosecuting power of attorney abuse in Arizona. The court's ruling that broad financial power of attorney does not grant unlimited authority to make self-serving transactions clarified legal standards that protect vulnerable adults from family exploitation. Federal sentencing guidelines were enhanced based on evidence from this case, increasing penalties for elder financial abuse involving systematic theft over extended periods. The case also led to legislative proposals requiring annual oversight reporting for all broad financial power of attorney arrangements involving seniors over 65. The successful prosecution demonstrated that sophisticated financial crime techniques cannot protect predators from consequences when families work with law enforcement to build comprehensive evidence cases using digital forensics and banking records. The case created legal precedent requiring financial institutions to implement enhanced monitoring for power of attorney transactions involving elderly customers, establishing protective protocols that have prevented similar theft in hundreds of subsequent cases. The devastating theft of $95,000 from Esperanza Castellanos could have been completely prevented through 3 specific legal safeguards that fewer than 11% of families implement when granting financial power of attorney. As your family wealth detective, I'm going to show you exactly how to protect your family from similar financial betrayal. The single most effective protection against power of attorney abuse is requiring dual authority for all financial transactions exceeding predetermined limits. Instead of granting broad authority to one individual, families should implement what elder law attorneys call split authority arrangements that eliminate opportunities for systematic theft. Here's exactly how to structure this protection. Designate 2 co-agents for financial power of attorney who must both approve any transaction over $1,000. This eliminates the ability for a single individual to execute systematic theft like Octavio's operation. Financial institutions can easily accommodate dual signature requirements and electronic approval systems that make this protection practical and enforceable. For the Castellanos family, requiring both Octavio and Leander to approve insurance policy loans would have immediately exposed the theft attempt. No predator can manipulate 2 family members simultaneously without detection, especially when those individuals live in different locations and maintain independent communication with the elderly relative. Establish mandatory monthly reporting requirements where the power of attorney holder must provide detailed account statements to all family members. These reports should include transaction summaries, account balances, and copies of all significant financial correspondence. Octavio's mail interception scheme would have been impossible if other family members received independent financial updates directly from institutions. Create automatic red flag triggers that require additional family approval for specific high-risk activities. Beneficiary changes on any accounts, loans against life insurance policies, large transfers between accounts, or sale of property. These triggers should be legally embedded in the power of attorney documents and communicated to all relevant financial institutions with specific implementation instructions. Most families don't realize that banks and insurance companies can implement enhanced monitoring systems specifically designed to detect elder financial abuse. These systems go far beyond standard fraud detection and create additional protection layers that would have caught Octavio's theft within weeks of initiation. Contact your elderly family members' financial institutions and request enhanced elder protection monitoring, a service offered by major banks that flags unusual transaction patterns, large withdrawals, or suspicious power of attorney activities. These systems can send automatic alerts to multiple family members when predetermined activity thresholds are exceeded. Establish trusted contact designations at all financial institutions. Federal banking regulations now allow customers to designate multiple trusted contacts who can be notified if financial institutions detect potential exploitation patterns. For the Castellanos case, having Leander and Celestine listed as trusted contacts would have triggered immediate alerts when insurance loans were processed without family knowledge. Implement quarterly independent account reviews performed by external financial advisors or elder law attorneys. These reviews cost approximately $200 to $500 annually, but provide professional oversight that can detect manipulation tactics invisible to trusting family members. Professional reviewers understand common theft patterns and can identify suspicious activities that appear legitimate to family members who assume good intentions. Request detailed transaction reporting delivered to multiple addresses to prevent mail interception schemes. Most financial institutions can provide duplicate statements or online access to additional family members' designated in power of attorney documents. This eliminates the ability for predators to control information flow through mail interception or document destruction tactics. The most comprehensive protection involves implementing legal safeguards that create accountability and evidence trails that deter potential theft while providing clear evidence for prosecution if crimes occur, despite protective measures. Require all power of attorney documents to include specific limitations and reporting requirements written directly into the legal text. Standard power of attorney forms often grant broad authority without adequate restrictions. Custom documents should explicitly prohibit self-serving transactions, require written justification for large expenditures, and mandate annual financial reporting to designated family members. Establish annual legal review requirements, where an independent elder law attorney examines all power of attorney activities and certifies that actions have been appropriate and authorized. This creates professional oversight that predators cannot manipulate and provides legal documentation distinguishing authorized versus unauthorized activities. Create formal documentation requirements for all significant financial decisions. The power of attorney holder should be required to maintain detailed written records explaining the justification for major transactions, with copies provided to other family members within 30 days of any transaction exceeding $500. Implement what lawyers call sunset clauses in power of attorney documents, automatic expiration dates that require annual renewal with updated medical and cognitive evaluations. This prevents power of attorney authority from continuing indefinitely without oversight and provides regular opportunities to assess whether the arrangement remains appropriate and free from abuse. Based on analysis of over 200 elder financial abuse cases, here are the critical warning signs that should trigger immediate investigation. Communication control. When one family member discourages direct contact between elderly relatives and other family members or financial institutions, this represents a major red flag for financial exploitation. Document disappearance. Missing bank statements, insurance papers, or financial records often indicate systematic theft operations designed to prevent detection of unauthorized transactions. Behavioral changes. When elderly individuals become suddenly secretive about finances, claim they're too confused to understand money, or defer all financial questions to one family member, these changes may indicate manipulation rather than natural cognitive decline. Isolation tactics. Predators typically isolate their victims from other family members, friends, or professional advisors who might detect suspicious activities or ask uncomfortable questions about financial management. Technology avoidance. When elderly individuals are suddenly discouraged from using online banking, ATMs, or direct communication with financial institutions, this often indicates control tactics designed to prevent detection of unauthorized activities. The Castellanos case demonstrates that family financial betrayal can happen in any family, regardless of a parent's stability, professional status, or previous trustworthiness. Protection requires proactive legal safeguards, independent oversight systems, and family communication structures that prevent any single individual from gaining complete control over vulnerable relatives' financial assets. Remember, elder financial abuse costs American families over $36 billion annually, with 90% of cases perpetrated by family members or trusted contacts. The protection strategies I've outlined today aren't just theoretical recommendations. They're proven safeguards that can save your family from devastating financial betrayal. Your elderly family member's financial security depends on implementing these protections before problems develop. Don't wait until you notice warning signs. Establish comprehensive safeguards now while family relationships are strong and everyone can participate in creating protection systems. The Castellanos family's $95,000 loss was completely preventable through the strategies I've detailed today. Make sure your family doesn't become my next case study. Case file number 127 demonstrates how power of attorney authority can be weaponized against the very people it's designed to protect. Octavio Castellanos' systematic theft represents criminal methodology being replicated in families across America every day. The legal safeguards, monitoring systems, and family communication strategies I've outlined can prevent similar devastation in your family. Don't let trust become vulnerability. Implement protection systems that preserve family relationships while protecting financial assets from predatory relatives who exploit legal authority for criminal purposes. Until next time, this is your Family Wealth Detective. Stay vigilant, stay protected, and remember, the best defense against family financial crime is preparation, not hope.